Hi, everyone. I'm Paul Clark here in Carbondale, Colorado with the Sawyer Boat Builders podcast series. I'm with Trevor and Sean at Boulder Boat Works, and they are the pioneers in polymer drift boats. So uh, tell us about your company.
Yeah, so Boulder Boat Works has been around for about 25 years now. Started down in Boulder. A guy named Andy Toohey started it. He'd been building wooden drift boats, mostly just for floating whitewater stuff, not necessarily for fishing, and just realized it was just too much upkeep to be doing the wood stuff. And so it was kind of right around the same time that polymer-based kayaks were coming out. And so he found this material that we use now, and welded the first boats right around end of 1999, 2000. And then now 25 years later, we're building polymer drift boats, still trimming them out in wood to make them pretty and fit the aesthetic that we want, but get the durability and all that of the polymer.
What's the easy sell? Why would a person want a polymer drift boat?
I mean, the biggest difference is the polymer, in my opinion. A lot of the industry has been, fiberglass and aluminum for a long time. And the polymer, it's a naturally buoyant material. It's flexible. It's quiet. A lot of it does really well in low water conditions, which is kind of a new norm here. So really it's the material, it's the polymer that sets us apart, from the industry.
Yeah. One thing Sean didn't say is that kind of the biggest factor that everyone talks about when it comes to drift boats is weight. And we are by far on the lowest end of that spectrum that you can be as far as a 16-foot boat goes, whether it's our low side, high side, or skiff. Our raw hull weight is less than 200 pounds, which is pretty wild when you look at other ways of manufacturing a drift boat, and still getting all of those key factors. And so it's sitting in a little bit less water. So it's, easier to maneuver all that stuff. And it's just loading and unloading on the trailer. It's night and day different.
When Boulder Boat Works began in Boulder, Colorado, it was wood. When did the transfer take place, the materials?
The company itself started around the polymer. But prior to that, Andy was a woodworker, carpenter, kind of jack of all trades type of guy, super, super talented individual. And he had built some wooden doors for himself and some friends and stuff like that. And so the polymer really came around when the business inception was. And we're still using a fair bit of wood. We're using white ash. We're using some African mahogany as interior stuff, and then structure around the top of the outside, the gunnels. But the polymer itself has been around for that 25 years with really little to no change in the material itself. And our processes are essentially the same. They're just a lot more efficient now than they were 25 years ago because we've learned as we went. And we've been in this shop in Carbondale for almost 8 years now. And we've really tried to dial in on being as efficient as possible as we can. And so, but the actual build of the boat is still the same. We're just doing it a little bit differently.
And I love seeing Sawyer a part of your outfitting. So tell us about how Sawyer and Boulder Boat Works work together.
Yeah, so Sawyer makes basically every oar that we put in a boat, from our spare oar to our actual oars for the boat, and it's the same deal, right? There's a bunch of oar options out there, but there's a couple things that set Sawyer apart, and it's their build quality and the aesthetic. And so, like their V-Lam oars next to our wood finished dory, there's nothing that really beats it. They're lightweight. They've got some spring to them that we really like. And at the end of the day, like we just haven't had an experience where we said, man, I need something different. These have met and exceeded our expectations for, 20 years now.
And I think they pair really well with our boats because our boats are lighter weight. That natural wood, material, the flex and the pop that you get with that, I just think translates really well to our boats because they're light. I always tell people, the oar is like the motor of our boats, right? So why spend all this money and time designing a boat and then, you know, put an oar in it that isn't going to be, you know, fun to row or match, you know, the characteristics of the boat. And I think Sawyer does that really well with our boats. Is, you know, they just pair really well with the weight and the design of our boats. I'm partial, but I think Sawyer makes the best oar in the game.